Finally, we have the box plot. In this case, in order for us to create a box plot, the first thing we're going to need is what's called the 5-number summary, which includes the minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, and the maximum value. So in this case, we could see that we have the data set. We actually have everything already calculated for us to kind of confirm back, and we're going to do some math together as far as how to calculate the 5 numbers minimum. But it's super important that the first thing is that we always put the data set from least to greatest if it's not already the case. In this case, our data set is actually already in order, but I'm just gonna make these a little larger just for us to find the 5-number summary. So in this case, we have all the values. So the first ones that we could really figure out right away are the minimum and the maximum. It's exactly what it sounds, the minimum value and the maximum value. So in this case, we know that the value 3 and 9, in this case, the 3 is the minimum, the 9 is the maximum. So now here's where we kind of get to work. The next piece of the 5-number summary that I think is easiest to find at the beginning is the median. So the median is essentially the number exactly in the middle of the data set. So in this case, since the values are already in order, we could kind of take one number from each side until we get to the middle. So in this case, I'm just kind of going from one side to the other until I meet somewhere in the center. And in this case, we could see that we have 2 values that are in the center. So when that happens, when we don't have a very unique median, then we're gonna take essentially the average of those 2 values. So we do 5 plus 6 divided by 2, that gives us 11 in this case, right? 11 divided by the 2, and that gives us that this is 5.5, right? So in this case, our median is 5.5. And at this point, since we did not use the value of 5, the next one is finding the quartile 1. So essentially what we need to do is now find the median, in this case, of the values in on the left hand side of the data set, right? So in this case, that's kind of where it's at. So in this case, we would take the values in here, and now we write them here. So 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, right? And we could use this value here because we didn't necessarily specifically use that value when we were calculating the median. So we're gonna have to find the median of this set, and then quartile 3 is essentially the same exact thing, starting here. So we're gonna have to find the median of the second, of the right hand side of the median. So 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. Again, I'm just rewriting these values up here, and then I'm gonna have to do the same exact thing, find the median. So I take one from each side, and here I'm seeing that I have to find the median between these two, since it's the same exact value. So take the average, but the average essentially is gonna be the same, just because it's the same value, right? So we get that 8 divided by 2 is 4. So we know quartile 1 is 4. And then in this case, we're gonna do the same exact thing up here. And again, we already saw that when we take the average of the same number, it's gonna give you the same number. But I'll just show you that. That gives us 14 divided by 2, and that gives you 7, right? And up here, the median was 5.5. I don't know what happened to it, right? So now that we have the 5-number summary, now we're ready to create our box and whisker plot. So in this case, what we're gonna do is, so we're gonna start with essentially the minimum, which in this case is the 3, right? So the minimum is 3, and we're gonna create a number line to the greatest value. So in this case, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it just goes to 9. in this case, right? So in this case, we don't need this part. I'll just leave it like that. So in this case, if I'm trying to create the box plot now, I need to take in this case, which was the minimum value, right, which was 3, and the tail, the maximum was 9. So in this case, we have 3, the maximum was 9, and then in this case, we could locate the median. The median is between 5 and 6, so it's right here, right? So we could kind of label it min, max, median, right? So 5.5, and then the quartile 1 was 4, so that's quartile 1, and then quartile was 7, so this is Q3. And then from here, all we do is we attach the center kind of becomes a box, and then we attach the minimum. Here's we kind of call the tails, right? We attach the quarter 1 in the minimum, and the quartile 3 and the maximum. And now that we have that, we have what we call the box and whiskers plot, or the box plot in this case. Hope that helps. See you next time.